cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. Time.
Well, welcome. We are here for the evening tea time. That's right. We are on the third show of this week's Thursday, and I made it. I am still kicking. I haven't fallen over yet. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this morning show and this afternoon show. But now we have the evening show. So grab your cup of tea, grab your coffee, grab a glass of beer, whatever suits you. You do not have to drink tea on Tea Time with Miss Liz. Tonight, I have the incredible inventor of the jukestir. I don't know why I say jukestir. That's right, Miss Liz is tongue again. And if you know a little bit about the juke, you're gonna want to move and drive. So we're gonna talk about the movements, the bodies, and all of that stuff. And now Brad Adams is gonna come in and he's gonna spill a good strong cup of tea with us tonight. So we're going to do all of the good stuff. We're going to do disclaimers. We're going to do bios. And then we're going to get Brad in here. And he's going to spill a good, strong TEA with all of you guys today. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith, however, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show and a later date and time. Again, 2023, Thursdays are the day for Tea Time with Miss Liz. If it's not on a Thursday, it's a rescheduled show, and that's usually a Monday or a Tuesday. So now let me give you a little bit on Brad Adams. Who is Brad Adams? Well, Brad Adams is a history teacher, and he is the inventor of the jukestir. I got to juke. I'm going to juke it. the world's first unpredictable punching bag. Mr. Brad Adams has a BA in political science from California State University, Los Angeles, and a BS in social science from Southern Utah University. He is a history teacher, and in 2021, he was nominated for Teacher of the Year. He is also the president of Health and Fitness Technology, LLC, a company that strives to strengthen the link between body and mind. He was awarded a U.S. patent for his development of neuromuscular coordination strengthening device. Mr. Evans and his family enjoy spending time together hiking, camping, and fly fishing. and he drinks a lot of tea. So I have a tea drinker tonight. So everybody get your teas because he is a tea drinker. So let's get Brad in here and let's spill some tea. And I'm going to sip on my tea while he shares a little bit about who he is. Welcome,
All
Brad.
right. Hey, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
It is an honor to have you here. So tell us a little bit on who Brad Adams is, and then we're going to get into the jukester.
Jukester, yeah. Well, like I think your bio says it all. I'm a teacher. I like to fly fish, and I invented this punching bag, which seemed simple enough at the time, but it just keeps growing with regards to its effects on helping people, and it's been a fun journey for me.
Well, it is an honor to have you here. So let us know a little bit about the young Brad Adams to the older Brad Adams.
Okay, well, when I was younger, I think I enjoyed life to its fullest in the sense that I like to hike and travel and be free. I read a lot of books regarding I did like some religious sort of situations, like reading books about Hinduism and Zen and whatnot. And I don't want to say rejected the Christian roots, but I was a thinker, I was a philosopher. I wanted to know the truth, and it all brought me back to Christianity and good things with Jesus and stuff like that. As an older adult, I am a teacher and a mentor and doing the best I can to give back to everybody and help everybody. And some of the things that I do, I didn't originally intend for them to be so helpful, and they are, and it's working out great.
So you did mention you're a teacher. Why history?
So history, this is going to seem almost impossible, but the first step forward is always a look back. So any innovation, you have to know the history. You want to cure cancer, the very first thing you need to know what's been tried, what did work, what didn't work. You have to study, you have to do the history of that. Same with if you wanted to make a new video game. Okay, well, what kind of games have we made? So history is the first step forward.
I like that. A first step forward.
Even though it's a look back, it doesn't seem like that makes sense, but it's true. And if I could even go a little deeper, all of us are influenced by the historical past. Like if you're born in a different country, maybe you have different views on politics or economics or something like that. I'm here in Utah right now. The land that I am on was owned by Spain longer than any other country. What would it be like if Spain still owned it? So you can go back to basically the Spanish Armada. If Spain had won that battle, maybe we'd be having this conversation in Spanish or something like that. So these things in history affect us and how we are today. And so then that brings you back to the ultimate question, which is prevalent in Hinduism quite often. Who are you, or who are we as people? So
So who are you? And I love that you brought the Zen in because this is what tea time is, right? We're Zending. We're actually taking time to just share and pour into the minds of stories and people and individuals. We're not pouring into the cup of tea, the beverage. We're pouring into the people on who they are and why they are. There's a history, right? You have a history, you have a present, and you have a future. So, in order to know Brad, you need to know a little bit about the history.
that's definitely true. But I would say that I definitely emphasize this moment. Like, yes, I have a past and it's full of ups and downs and this and that, but I am in this moment and I am happy to be here. And it's a little shocking that I made it over here and it's all working out and good, by the grace of God, amen. It's good to be on the show.
Well, and you're all the way in Canada. So again, you are visiting another country tonight. So you are in the United States. So we're doing an international podcast tonight. So this is just the way I roll.
Awesome.
So we did talk backstage before we started the show, and you said you had tea. So I love that my guests have tea. You don't need to drink it, but you have your tea. I want to get into a little bit about the tea that you're drinking tonight, Brad.
Okay, hopefully I can pronounce this correctly. It's called ashwagandha chai. And supposedly the ashwagandha root is for mellowing out and relaxing. I don't know how much of that is an advertisement and how much of that is true, But when I want to feel mellow and relax and not be stressed out at a long day, or if I'm on the radio show and I don't want to be too jittery, I gave it a try. So I got that one. I've also got turmeric tea, which goes well with honey. They say that one fights inflammation. This is why I like tea. There's a tea for every occasion. There's a
Right.
chamomile tea for sleepy time, and then of course you have your English breakfast when you need to wake up, and so so I've got a lot of different flavors.
Lots of flavors and lots of blends. So let's just get right into your tea, and then we're going to get into the Jukestir. So if I ask you what your tea is tonight, what do you got for me?
I've got train elite awareness.
And why those
A-
words?
Awareness is something you can train. I feel I can't speak for the audience, obviously, but I feel a lot of people, especially my students, they lack focus. And one of the main reasons they lack focus is from the screen. They got too much screen time. They're looking at their phones, they're looking at the computers all the time. And now I need you to sit down and pay attention for 35 or 40 minutes. It's not going to happen. Your brain is not wired if you're watching the TikTok constantly and the YouTube and you're flipping and flipping and flipping. And now I need you to settle for 30 minutes. You've hardwired your brain for just little bites, and it's going to be too hard to sit down and have a meal. And so before I do any teaching, I try to help them out with focus. There's a lot of drills you can do for focus, whether it's on slides or like we'll see with my Jukester. Um, and if you train your awareness, you're going to have amazing results, not just in education, but in your life. All you have in this life is the ability to be aware of it and to enjoy it. And you can train that and you can enjoy it and be aware of it more.
Why the E word?
Elite. Um, Partly because I needed it to make up tea, and partly because, well, I mean, like anything else, if you're going to train, you can do training, but if you want to be elite, you got to be the best at it. Why not go for it? Be the best at your life. Be the best at being aware of your life. There's a guy on YouTube named Sad Guru. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's very elite, at least at sounding aware and promoting awareness. That should be your goal, to be the best at whatever you're going to do. And if it's your life, you should be the best at your life. Don't try to live anybody else's life. Don't be distracted by all the nonsense. Every once in a while, it's fun to put on a TV show or something. And again, to your life, be as distracted as you want, but live your life and be aware, then be elite, be the best at it.
And the A word?
Awareness, again, that goes back to just being aware. There's not much more you have in this world than the awareness of your life, and just being able to look around. I see people, they're on their phones, and I'm not knocking you. I got a phone, my wife's got a phone, but that doesn't mean we got, just because we got these bad habits doesn't mean we can't acknowledge them. I'm talking about people that are looking at their phone, they're walking down the street and they're oblivious to the fact that the clouds
Yeah.
are so beautiful, or that the snow is melting over here and it's a beautiful day. They're not aware of all this joy around them because they're staring at their phone. And I'm sorry to just knock the phone. This is one example that makes it easy for me to talk. But in all of life, you can be aware. You can be aware of your children, or aware of you're miserable waking up to go to your job. You can be thankful and aware that you have a job, and that it's good that you have that. The only thing worse than going to work is not going to work. And
Yeah.
so just be aware of all the things you have and your blessings, and be aware of your life, because you only get one of it.
Well, I think, and you like the outdoors as well, right? So, uh, you like fly fishing and camping and hiking and all of that. So that's awareness of the nature and all of that good stuff, right? So, what do you like about nature?
Well, so many things, but let's talk fishing for a minute.
Okay.
These fish, they're stupid, right? But it takes $300 worth of gear and all your wits to catch one. So now who's stupid? But you talk about awareness. That's what I think of. Because I'm doing fly fishing. I'm hunting these fish. I'm behind the tree. I'm aware of the way the wind is blowing. I'm kind of keeping my rod with the tree, trying to make it like a tree branch and toss it at the exact right time. I'm trying to perceive, how does that fish see me, so that I'm blending in with my environment and stalking it. It's actually quite fun. And then when I'm on hikes, I just am enjoying my surroundings and the beauty and whatnot. But of all the things I look forward to, it's definitely the fishing. I enjoy it.
And you sound like a serious fly fisher.
I enjoy it serious. There's a huge spectrum. I love it and I do a lot of it, small stream to medium stream. But I mean, there's people that it's like their life and there's a certain level. Let me try to put it into what's your favorite sport? Do you like a sport?
I like volleyball.
I can't use hockey because you're in Canada.
I like hockey too.
Okay,
But
let's use
I
hockey.
like it, and
There's
I'm an American fan. I like Chicago Blackhawks, and my family's like, Elizabeth, you're a traitor. Like, you're in Canada. Like, you should. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
you gotta
hey, I'm
you gotta watch
sorry.
the Canadians or the Leaves or whatever, Maple Leaves. Look, there's fishermen that are like NHL fishermen. That ain't me. But that doesn't mean I like to, when I don't like to pass the puck around. I like to go out there and fish. I enjoy it to my skill level. And if you do zero fishing, I'm better than you. But if you're an avid fisherman, then whatever. It's all just do the best I can. And some days you catch a bunch, and some days you don't. But if you're out there and you're trying, it's usually a pretty good day.
So, what's the difference between regular fishing in a boat and fly fishing?
Well, when you're in a boat, and there's nothing wrong with that, I do that too, but you put the bait on the hook, you throw it in, and you're pretty much just kind of waiting for the fish to find the bait. And there's some skill. You want to be around where the fish are, and then they get on it and you reel it in. That's it. With fly fishing, there's a lot of different dynamics because it depends on if you're doing a dry fly, which is going to sit at the top, or if you're doing something like a woolly bugger, which is mimicking a smaller fish. So if you're at a dry fly, you just want it to land and kind of float naturally with the water. You don't want to cause it to move because it's mimicking a bug landing on the water, and then the fish will come up and get it. And you want to time it right. You watch the fish, boom, time it. If you're doing a woolly bugger, which is below the water, you want to kind of give it a little jerk every once in a while and kind of make it look like it's swimming, like it's lost or whatever, that it's easy pickings, and you want that fish to come up and grab it, and then you time it out. So I would say the main difference is, I don't want to say skill, but maybe your interaction with the fish. You're more hunting when you're fly fishing.
Well, you're right in the water when you're fly fishing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, you're standing in the water. We don't see too many fly fishers in Canada, or where I come from. We're all in the boat.
Yeah, and listen, what's your goal? If your goal is to catch fish, especially because you got to eat or you want to just fill up the fridge, lake fish, bigger fish, easier to catch more of them. That's true. But if you're trying to have an experience, I think fly fishing, like I said, it's more like hunting. It's just fun. It's relaxing. I just enjoy it. So, to each their own.
And hiking, what is it about hiking that you love?
Well, it's good exercise. And, out here in Utah, we got just such big open spaces.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome.
We got stuff. It's amazing here. We've got Zion National Park, Bryce National Park. Unfortunately, I live about 3 hours from them now, but there was a time in my life where I lived about 30 minutes away and I could explore them all the time. Bryce, if somebody just kidnapped you in the middle of the night and dropped you in the middle of Bryce, you thought you woke up on Mars. It's like another planet. It's insane. But just hiking in the hills where I'm at here, you just get to see so much. It just open the skyline, open your mind. And as we're talking about it right now, the weather's heating up. I need to get up there at night, and I need to get up there and get some starlight going. And I don't know, I just like it.
Well, it does look like Mars because it's like really red, right? Like the valleys are really red.
Bryce looks like Mars, and if you Google it, you'll agree and you'll know what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean all of Utah looks like Mars. If you look at Park City, that looks, I guess, like Canada, what I think of Canada anyway. Lots of pine trees and snow and stuff like that. So we definitely have some different.
Well, it's a free trip to Mars, right?
That's right. Cheaper than the rocket.
If you want to go to Mars, go to Utah. So, Brad, I want to get into the Jukestir.
Jukestir.
And I watched some videos on how you got this started. It started in your garage.
Yeah, so we can go back even before that. Let's talk about how I came up with the idea for this.
Okay, yeah, let's
My
get into that.
my buddy and I, and this is my good buddy that I grew up with. We both do martial arts and we both play soccer. I'm in better shape when it comes to soccer, but he's in way better shape when it comes to martial arts. Why is this? What's happening here? So I do some research, and Bruce Lee calls it neurophysiological adjustment. And basically, it's just the concept that your brain controls all of your muscles. If your brain does a better job at controlling your muscles, then you're going to be faster, you're going to be stronger, and you're going to use less energy, have better endurance. I thought, awesome. How do we train this nervous system? And I couldn't figure it out. And I thought about it for a few days. And then eventually I had that flux capacitor moment where I just knew exactly what to do. We have punching bags you hit hard.
Yep.
We have punching bags you hit rhythmically, like a double-ended bag or a speed bag. But we don't have a punching bag that you miss, one that actually tricks you, where you think you're going to hit it and it moves out of the way. And I thought, okay, there it is. We need that. How do we do it? So I run out to Home Depot, I get some rope and some foam and some weights, and I put it together. And it just becomes a labor of love because you can use different foam, you can use different ropes or different wires, you can use different weights, and how you manipulate these things will affect the movement. And it's very challenging to make an inanimate object move like a person. And so that's the beginning of Jukester. Back then, it was called the coordination bag.
Oh, that's where the coordination bag comes in, because I was like, okay, it's the jukester, and then I get coordination bag. Where's that coordination come from?
Right, well, because it's building coordination, and there's a speed bag and there's a double-ended bag. Well, what type of bag is this? It's a coordination bag, and then Jukester is sort of just the brand name. The kids think it's fun. It jukes you. For those of you that are familiar with the concept of juke, that means to move out of the way. So if a guy, I guess you would call that in hockey, you'd call it a deke, where a guy dekes you out
So
or
you're moving
fakes
all
you
over.
out. Yeah, and so it fakes you out. It jukes you, and that's why it's called Jukester. But here's the fun part of the story. So I make this punching bag. I take it around to different professionals. I get going. Everything's going fine. I'm making it out of my garage. We're on generation 2 now. I'm using gym quality foam and some other upgrades. I send it to a university. I want their football team to use it. I imagine their linemen putting their hands on it and getting fast hands and everything working out. Well, they called me back and they say, yeah, we are using it, but not for football. We're using it for neuromuscular rehabilitation for people that have been in car accidents to
Oh,
help them regain their motor coordination. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, of course you are. That's what I invented it for. Meanwhile, I'm like writing it down. Neuromuscular, huh? What was that? I had no idea what I really had discovered. I was just making this punching bag, but it turns out what it is this neuromuscular tool. It's this coordination tool that helps your brain react faster.
wow. And who knew, right? Because you were looking at a movement like a punching bag action, and then you got car accidents survivors that are using this, you know. So what other fields of expertise like are using this? Like, are gyms using it? Are schools using it? Like,
Exactly. So it's going to sound almost impossible when I tell you, oh, it's used in schools or it's used in rehab, and I'll go into these stories in a minute. But the common denominator is your brain. Do you want to train your brain? This is how you train it. And I've got a pretty decent analogy for people at home. Most of you have already bought this technology. You bought it with your baby. One of the very first gifts we give our baby is a mobile, something in the crib that spins around. They're watching it, they're tracking, they're reaching. That's the same concept here as Jukester. You watch it, you think, and then you react to it. And so it's the same brain power, same time proven principle. But to go back to your original question, I just learned about a place called Rocksteady Boxing. And what they do is Parkinson's patients, they help fight Parkinson's with boxing. And so I've got at least 5 gyms that I know of using it, Rocksteady gyms. for Parkinson's patients. And so it's neat to see these people hitting it and using it. And I've got one NFL lineman using it. So I did eventually get a football player to go for it. And he loves it. So hopefully their whole team will be using it this summer. I got one MLB team that uses it, and I've got a variety of actual fighters using it in the UFC, the PFL, and all the different pro fight leagues. So, it's growing and it's awesome. And as much as I like the sales come from martial arts, they're the people that buy it first, but I enjoy hearing the rehab and the Parkinson's and the people using it to help, that it's helping them in their day-to-day lives.
Now, did you ever think that you would be helping these type of people when you created this, like when you invented this?
No, that's what I mean. I stumbled onto it. I made, what it was for me? It was a human cat toy. It was something fun to hit and chase around. And I'd come home and, meow, just go after it and stuff. And I wanted to be a better boxer and I wanted to be able to compete with my friend. And so, that was the original intent. But there were some big jumps. Okay. So we talked about me making it in my garage, but now it's a professionally manufactured product. To do that costs a lot of money.
Yes.
You have to buy a mold, you have to prototype it, you have to do all this thing. I don't think I could have made that jump if it was just about boxing and making money. It would have been a big gamble and a big risk, and I don't know if I could have done that. But when I get these emails, a guy about right after Christmas reached out to me. Hey, I'm using it for Parkinson's and ADHD and da-da-da-da-da. And I just wanted to tell you thank you and have you tried it for this and that and the other thing. I get about 2 or 3 emails a year telling me something I didn't know about the bag and how they're using it to help people. Anyway, it just meant I had to make the jump. There was no more, it's risky, it's financially risky, or it's not. It's now a moral obligation and a piece of my life. Am I going to go for it or not? And I went for it. So there you go.
Well, you're a fly fisher. Like, you take the risk of catching the fish. Like, come on, you got to take a risk on the Jukestir, right? Like,
you don't catch it if you don't go fishing. So you got to try.
If you don't try, you don't know. And I say this all the time with Teatime. If you don't try, you don't know. If you don't try different flavors, how do you know what's out there? So
that's true.
I want to get into the health and fitness. You're let me see where you're the president of the health and fitness. How did you get into that?
So that's the company that you have to form to make a product like Jukestir. And now, obviously, that's my flagship product, but there'll be other products coming along. For me, this is the future, and that's sort of what I'm preaching. And some of this stuff costs money. You got to buy Jukestir, you got to buy this, but some of it doesn't. You can go ahead and get yourself I don't remember. I think it's called a Simon Says. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's the disc with the little lights, and you hit the little lights. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a child's game. And it goes
I know
green,
Simon
yellow,
Says,
blue.
touch your nose. Simon Says, touch your. That's a Simon Says I know.
I'll have to look up this game then. But it's a cheap game. You had it when you were a kid. It's yellow, red, blue, green, and it goes.
Oh yeah, and you had to touch them.
Yeah, and it comes on different lights. Okay, get one of those. Throw it underneath your head when you're doing your push-ups. And voila, you now have a brain push-up. And when I say that, because think about all the exercises you can do with your eyes closed. You can do a push-up or a sit-up or a squat. Of that, you could even, if you're doing one of those bikes that's a stationary bike, you can do that with your eyes closed. So there's too much exercise that we're doing that's only musculoskeletal system and not nervous system. And so I'm trying to advocate for training that's inside out. Train the nervous system first, as well as training the musculoskeletal system. And so that's what health and fitness technologies has turned into. Again, mostly, or at least part of the way, by accident. I didn't necessarily originally intend for this, but the more I see what's going on, that's what I'm going for. There's a lot of people training I'm in a lot of forums and working with a lot of group, and I'm not disparaging their research. They're awesome scientists and they're awesome performance, but they're very much focused on strength or speed, and they're talking about physical strength, physical speed. But there's a variety of athletes you can look at, and it's the mental game that wins the game. My favorite example that's obvious is Tom Brady, not the strongest, not the fastest, but the winningest, because split decisions make the difference in sports. Otherwise, we'd have all the Olympic track athletes just transfer right over to the NFL, but they can't because the NFL is part physical exhibition and you have to train for that. I'm not saying don't run, don't do your sit ups, but it's also part board game. You have to strategize and you have to move. And if you're out there playing checkers while your opponent's playing chess, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And so so there's a variety, and that goes for you. You're like, well, I don't play sports and this doesn't account for me. But the car can pull out in front of you and you got to respond fast, or something can come up and you got to make a quick decision. Like having these quick decision skills in a lot of ways are more useful than being able to bench press 300 pounds. You're more likely to have to think fast and respond than you are to have to lift some incredibly heavy object in front of you. And so that's what health and fitness and technologies is about, is just helping people build that coordination and that attention and
Well, I've
just help.
watched, you've been at a couple of trade shows in the last little bit, and I've watched some of the videos, and I believe there was a boxer that had done a video, and he was burnt out. Like he was like I'm professionally always moving. I think he was a fighter. I just seen the video 2 days ago. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. I seen this video, and I was like, oh my goodness, like he is burnt out. Like he is tired. So it's really physical with the jukester.
Yeah, that was actually, I just met, I didn't, luck of the draw, right? Destiny, whatever you want to call it. He was the welterweight champion of Utah, and I was at a fitness expo, and he came by, and I pulled him aside and said, I want you to try this. There's a reason you get tired out because, again, it goes back to so many of exercises I can do with my eyes closed. Well, now if you're engaging your brain, there's little nuances. Your push up, if you add, like I was saying, you can add that, or you can do a bunch of different things. Let's say you add Jukester, since I'm trying to sell it here. You're making each push up just a touch different. Instead of it, you're not controlling the pace. You're not controlling where you place your hands. Just these little nuances add a physical challenge. And so that's why he was challenged out. He's used to being able to drive. I'm going to punch now. I'm going to punch now. He's making the decisions. Now, when you're hitting this bag, you have to think, you have to interact, and that wears you out.
Well, it's the trick, right? Like you said at the beginning of the show, it's the trick. The bag is tricking you because you think you're going to hit here, but the bag is going over here.
Right. And sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. And that was part of the design of it. We put so much thought into it, different weights in different locations, different densities in different locations. It's a unique shape. And all of that, we didn't really get into that, but I talked to a lot of not just fighters, but I took it to a few neuroscientists and asked for their opinion on it. And they gave me some of their suggestions on how to increase hand-eye coordination. Most of them worked with tennis players and stuff like that, but it's all the same thing, hand-eye coordination. And so no stone was left unturned, and we did the very best we could. And there we go.
So how much weight do these jukesters weigh? Like, are there different bags, different sizes?
Okay, so the bag itself, all three sections weigh, I think, just under 4 pounds, so
Okay.
about 3.5 pounds. But all three sections look identical, and they're not. The bottom section has two metal weights. The middle section has a little different density than the head. The head weighs a little more. And so when you hit the head, and if you were to hit the middle with the exact same force, you would get a different movement, and your brain has trouble predicting and processing that. And by the time it figures it out, it doesn't matter because it's moved it on to the next place anyway. And so that's the idea. Again, kind of like a human cat toy or kind of like a mobile. And it's just always keeping you thinking. And it's not the only exercise in the world, but it's a good warm up. I would love to see, you know, not just athletes, but just anybody. If you're trying to fight Alzheimer's or fight Parkinson's, if you want to keep your brain sharp, this is how you train it. And again, this is how you trained it when you were in a crib, and it's the same concept. And for whatever reason, we kind of get away from it once we get older, maybe because it's so easy. And this brings that challenge back in.
So it's only one size, right? There's not like a large, a medium, a small, like, or do you have like different sizes and different colors?
We have different colors, but the bag itself is only one size. It represents the center line of an adult, 6 foot tall adult. And if you make it different sizes, then you have to change the weights to get the movement correct, and you have to do a lot of stuff. And we're just not at that phase. Um, for the vast majority of adults, this bag will fit them perfect.
So the total weight of the bag, how did you come about getting it the perfect weight?
Mostly trial and error. 1,000 different combinations, taking it to different people. Not, I don't know. I don't think that's the best way. Probably should have hired like a scientist to figure it out. But I'd bring like 5 bags into the. I was lucky enough to have access to not just police officers and SWAT team members, but UFC fighters. I was training at a really high level gym at the time, and this was back when they had something called Pride, which is no longer in existence, but it's sort of like a UFC. But it's just it's gone away. I think the UFC bought it anyway. And I'd have them, hey, which one do you like? We like this one, and here's why. Okay, so I'd take what they said, and I'd make a few more, and I'd come back. Okay, now out of these 5, which ones do you like? And then I would. Here's the thing too: is you take it to them, but then you take it to a different person or a different, maybe one guy does Muay Thai, another guy does boxing, and they'd have different inputs. Oh, I want the leg to do this, or I want the bottom to do that. And so just over the constant refining of a few years and a few changes, and then, like I said, scientists and this and that, and eventually we got to a bag where pretty much everybody goes, yeah, that's the right bag. And that you can see that when I went to FitCon, I was telling you backstage, I've got about 120 people hit this, and 100 of them, the very first thing they say is, I like this, I want this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a reason why everybody likes it, because we did the research and the development. Like it works for the vast majority of people, whether you're a beginner or an advanced boxer like this one guy, or a coach or whatever. It's the right weight, the right density. You don't want it to be too hard that if it hits you, it hurts you. You don't want it to be too soft that when you hit it, it's like mush. There's a sweet spot. And so we really spared no expense and did
So
the
does
best
this
we could.
does the jukester hit us back? Like, does it get us?
It can.
It can.
Yeah, a little bit. Not too crazy. It's not. I suggest you keep your hands up. So just so you know, you can tether it down. It comes with a tether, and if you tie it down, it's not coming back and it's not hitting you. But for the average user that wants a little spice in their life, you can leave it untethered, or you can tether it loose, and it's gonna float around a little bit. Yeah, sure.
So where do you hang this? Like, do you hang it in a garage? You hang it in a bedroom? Where do you put this thing?
I've got mine in my basement. I
In
think
your
most
basement.
people hang it in a garage. It comes with an eye bolt, and you got to screw that into the ceiling, and then you can just hang it wherever you want. When it comes to a fitness product, the installation, that's a little bit of a barrier to entry. There's a lot of fitness products you don't have to install, and this you do. But when it comes to a punching bag, this is by far the easiest punching bag there is to install, because it's just an eye bolt and it's easy to take off and on, and it won't take up all the space. And so there you go.
So when you get the package of the jukester, do you get like different pieces and you got to put it all together, or you get just a jukester and a screw? Like
Okay, so it's fully assembled, ready to go right out the box. You get an eye bolt and a D-ring so that you can attach it to the eye bolt. And then you get 2 tethers, a bottom tether, like I was telling you earlier, and that's to restrict the movement. I don't want to call it training wheels in a mean way, but if you need a little step up, you can dial in that bottom tether to the movement that suits your skill level and what you're trying to get out of the bag. Again, I got UFC fighters using it. I've got Parkinson's patients using it. They don't necessarily want the same amount of movement. So you can dial it in how you want. And then the small tether goes at the top. And that one is so that you can have the bag be at head level, whatever that is
Okay.
for you. Uh, if you want it, I like it at exactly 6 foot because I'm 6 foot tall. But there's some other people, they're 6 foot tall, but they kind of crouch when they're fighting. And so they lower it a little bit because they want it kind of to match their head level when they're crouching. It doesn't make that much difference. That's just a personal preference.
So when you're going to the jukester, do you go in like a box, like you're punching a punching bag, or do you come in like with a different movement? How do you come into this thing?
That's a great question. Um, it depends on what your goal is to use this. So for me, I'm boxing it, I'm punching it and kneeing it, and I'm treating it like a sparring partner. For these football guys, they're doing football drills on it. So if you've ever seen a big tackling dummy, you push it out of the way, and then they do something called like rip and move, and they're doing those moves on it. If you're a baseball player and you're trying to catch, you can grab the bag and you can just catch it like you're trying to, and it's hard to catch. It'll move out of the way. You'll go to catch it and woo, it, wiggles out of there. For my kids, I'm talking my school children now. I have it in the classroom. I'm having them just do like a left, right, left. So top left, middle right, bottom left, and I'm having them mix it up. And so they're just almost slapping at the bag, and they're going left, right, left, right, left, right, and they're alternating between the left and the right, and they're alternating between the top, middle, and the bottom. And they're doing that, and it's difficult to hit the bag. You don't have to punch it, is what I'm saying. They're having to focus, and you make them do that for a minute or two as a warm up, and now they're just going to feel it in their head. They're focused more than before they used that bag.
So you don't have to have a fist closed like a punching bag.
Not at all. You can just reach out and touch it. Again, like a child's mobile. If you're just tracking it and you're just making contact, that's all you have to do is just try to make contact and touch it or grab it however you want.
So can you use your legs on this thing?
Absolutely. You can knee it, you can elbow it.
So it's like dancing, right? Like we said backstage, we're juking it.
Yeah, that's where juke comes from originally, the jukebox, right? So when you kick it, you have to be careful, especially if you're like new to kicking it. But like with my kids, I just have them go left, right, and I have them like almost like a soccer kick, like with the instep,
Okay.
just touch it with their foot. You just have to touch it. It's hard enough to touch. You don't have to hit it that hard. It'll move plenty, and it's like stretching. You don't have to power stretch. You just want to stretch into it. So you just want to hit it. You're stretching your nervous system when you go to hit it, and you don't have to go crazy if you don't want to.
So do you get your students to do this before a history class?
Yeah, I bring it in here when I can, um, and I do it for all my classes. Yeah, absolutely. I would like if I was going to redesign the classroom of the future, it would look like American Ninja Warrior. I would have a I would have a climbing wall. I would have like a bunch of focus exercises, like I was telling you, Jukester, Simon Says. You can make some of the stuff too. Is I don't know how long it's been since you have little kids, but little kids they have these magazines. One picture is identical to the other picture, except for like 5 different changes. One cat doesn't have a tail.
Yeah.
This guy's wearing number 3 over here. He's wearing number 13, and you got to find the differences between the 2 pictures. That's an easy thing to do or to make for any teacher. You put that as your very first slide. And that's just making the kids focus. Okay, what are the differences? And they're just looking. Just that training them to focus it's like tilling the ground. It's getting the ground soft. Now you come in there and you plant your seed. So going back to Jukester and this focus training, there's actually some science, not specifically on the Jukester device, but the science said with regards to children's exercise, and involving executive functions, so decision making and all of those high level cognitive skills. You want something that's novel, unpredictable, where elements are constantly changing. That's the exact quote. Well, voila. Jukester is novel, goal oriented, and elements are constantly changing. So there you go. It's training their executive functions. You have to plan on what you're going to do, and you have to change your plans, and you have to think about it. And there you go.
I think it would be really good in the schools because it gets some focus, right? It's like you said, the phone. My kids are adults, and I'm like, can you put the phone down? Like, come on, can we have a conversation here? And I'm a grandma. My little one is two. And, 2.5 now. They grow up so fast, but I mean, we need to get focused. We need to start moving. We're not moving enough, and I think this is really cool. Like, I wish I could see it right now, and I could just I could take my frustrations out on a few things.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if it's just me. I'm glad to hear you say that. I like to hit things, not in a mean way, not in a
Right?
mean way. I'm talking like a punching bag or I'm not talking about, you know, I think it's part of your human instinct to just kind of take a little frustration out, a little stress relief.
Right? And I think it's fun. You're not hurting anybody. You're hitting the bag. The bag's not going ow, ow, ow. Like,
Yeah, and because now listen, I like the heavy bag, and you can hit that one hard. So it's like yin and yang. The heavy bag you hit hard. This bag is hard to hit. The heavy bag, you take out your frustration. With Jukester, there's a different satisfaction because it's hard to hit. So when you get that 3-hit combo, you're like, dude, I did something. That's kind of challenging. Look at me.
we have a question here for you, Brad. Have you ever used it to dance?
I have not, but this weekend at the fitness conference I was at, which was FitCon here in Salt Lake City, they had some of the sports models at the booth behind me came out to try it out, and that's exactly what they thought. They're treating it like a dance partner. They're like, they hit it and it's kind of wiggling, and then they tried to match it. They tried to match the wiggle, and it was fun to see. And so I have not used it as a dance partner, and I would have told you no one up until a week ago. But this weekend, someone did. They danced with it.
Yeah, that just came out of the blue. I think. And when I kind of look at the videos, I've watched a couple of the videos, and it almost looks like you're dancing, like you're moving out of the way. You're moving the body. So, do you think that you would see this in dance studios?
You know what? I'm gonna have to. I guess the sky's the limit. I'm keeping my mind open. I know nothing. I've never been to a dance studio, and again, I'm just telling you. I would have said no. 72 hours ago, I'd have said, nah, that's crazy talk. But now when someone's bringing it up, and I see, I kind of go with the universe. Maybe that's the next level for it. Okay, so it went martial arts, it went rehab, and now it's going to be at the dance studio near
Right?
you.
You put the jukebox on and you juke stir away, right? Like you just
Yeah,
move the body. There's a
you know,
lot of movement in dancing. Like there's different types of dancing. So I could see it happening, you know,
oh yeah, dancing's an exercise, absolutely.
right? And you don't have a dance partner, you can always join with the jukester, right? You grab it.
I always think of it as a sparring partner, but you're right. It can be your dance partner as well.
That was cool. Thanks for that question. That question came in from Twitter, and they don't have a name because they didn't verify, but it came in from Twitter. So I want to thank that viewer. I want to get into a little bit. I got a bunch of questions here for you. The boxing MMA products. What is that?
Well, that's so boxing and mixed martial arts is what MMA stands for,
Okay.
and that's what Jukester is. It's a punching bag by nature, and so that's the original target market, and that's who buys it first.
Okay.
My next market up is concussion, um, like concussion therapy. So they've got a lot of these different devices where you're tracking and you're trying to build your brain, and you're touching these screens and stuff, and they're using it for concussion therapy. And so I was at Utah. It's called the APTA. It's the Physical Therapy Expo. I was there a few weeks ago, and people said, "Hey, this would be good for concussions, or this would be good for neuromuscular rehab and stuff like that," which I had heard before. And so anyway, that's the new frontier. I'll be calling up this summer the different concussion labs and taking it down. And if it's something they want, well, I'll give them one, and we'll go from there.
So, and I did notice when I checked your website, it says "Win Your Fight." What's that stand for?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked about that. I hope the audience is listening can tell me. We had some different sayings. The original saying was a striking difference. Then the next saying was the ultimate advantage. But when your fight has stuck with me, I don't know where it came out of a dream or something, but I just like it. And when your fight is because everyone's got to fight. I'm not talking about an actual opponent and you're punching them and stuff. You've got to fight. You want to lose 10 pounds. That's your fight. Or you got Parkinson's and you want to live a normal life. That's your fight. Whatever your fight is, whether it's rehab or you want to get better grades, whatever it is, Jukestir's here to train your brain and to help you do better with your fight, whatever that is. And like we talked about in this episode, your brain controls everything. It's your reality. It's how you interact with the world. If your brain is faster, if your brain is sharper, it's going to affect your world and it's going to help you reach your goals. So whatever your fight is, we want to be a part of helping you if we can, if it's something that's going to work and it's going to help you. We want to be a part of helping you win that fight.
I like it. When I seen it on the website, I was like, win your fight. Yeah, okay, is it boxing fight? Is it? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask him the question when he comes on. Like, what does it stand for? And I really like that because you said striking difference. That too is nice, but it's not as impactful. Win your fight is really strong. Like, it's like, I'm coming for you and you're going to, but when you're going to a fight, you're not always taking the right shot, right? When you're shooting that shot, you miss that person sometimes, you got to swing again, so I love it. I love it. I love win your fight.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if you saw it on the Instagram. I can send you the videos afterwards. But like, it's also at these neuromuscular gyms. We're talking about elderly people that they're just trying to stay fit, and they got a lot of cool neuro things with lights on them and this and that. And this is just one more tool. And so, yes, I like seeing the pro athletes use it, of course.
Yeah.
But I also like seeing people, and when I'm talking about these elderly people, their fight isn't necessarily in a ring. Their fight is, I don't want to fall down and get hurt. And so if you can build your coordination, there's nothing better than coordination for preventing injury. I mean, that's just the way that is. If you're more coordinated, you're not going to get injured. And for these elderly people, they're not going to fall down as often or as dramatically, and they're going to prevent the injury. And so when I see places using this bag to prevent injury and to help people, I just love it. And so that's their fight. I want to help them win that fight, to stay safe.
I think it's really empowering too, Brad, because when you're hitting and you miss, well, the bag is all over the place. So you can actually say, you know what, how was I supposed to hit that? And it gets the mind thinking, okay, this shot didn't work. Let me try this way. And then this way, Miss Liz just wants to punch a bunch of things.
I can't blame you.
So I just want to try it. Like I wanted, because I got a lot of frustrations and I would rather punch that in the air and miss it and not feel, what's the word I'm looking for here? Defeated,
Okay, so first off, in boxing, you're going to miss. That's a natural part of fighting. Just like in life, you're not always going to hit, but it's how you get back up for the next one. This is going to just help you get rid of your denial. Boom, it didn't work. I'm on to the next thing already. Yeah. And then here's something we haven't talked about that was interesting. So the same way, let's say you're trying to lift some 20-pound weights, but you can't do it. So you lift some 10-pound weights, blah, blah, blah. You build up. You can't do something physically. Your body builds more muscle tissue. And then after you train, 3 weeks later, month later, whatever, you can lift it. You can do more. So after you get this bag, 3 weeks later, you will hit the bag more often. Not because you can predict it, but what's actually happening is you're creating more connections in your brain. You're creating more synapses. And so your eyes, your brain, and your hands will start to work together better. Just like any other training, the more you do, the better you get. When you start to do this type of reaction training, you're going to do better with your hand-eye coordination because you're physically altering your brain. You're building more synapses. There's another thing that's interesting. The way we process information is often with a premium on the past. For example, you go to catch a ball. you're thinking your brain processes all the times you've had to catch a ball in the past, and it kind of formulates a solution, and then you go to catch the ball. Because Jukester is unpredictable, the past is irrelevant. So now your brain puts a premium on incoming data. What's happening? It just skips the whole part of the past. It just goes eyeball, brain, hand, boom, solution. And you actually get legitimately faster. So you might miss now. You're like, oh, I'm going to hit it and miss. But don't worry. 3 weeks, 3 months from now, you will think you are Spider-Man because you're just going to be hitting the bag all over the place. Oh, I missed. Well, let me just transition to this, and I got it anyway. Like it's going to be ridiculous.
So you're making a bunch of Spider-Mans. That's what you're doing, Brad.
Pretty much, yeah.
We're almost at the hour, so I got a few more questions for you, but they're not related to the Jukester. They're related to you as an individual. I asked you what your favorite color was, and you gave me green. Why green?
I think I was born on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
so all the toys I had as a little kid were always green. And so I think that's why. I mean, I don't know, subconsciously. Maybe it's because I like outdoors. I like the lawn or the trees or something. But green has just been a part of my life since my birth. So that's why.
Well, no wonder you created the Jukester, little leprechaun. That's
Yeah.
You're all over.
Absolutely.
And you gave me the word believe as a word to describe yourself as a person. Why that word?
Because you got to believe. There's so much, from now I'm dealing with like trolls online and stuff like that. But before that, are you gonna buy the mold? Are you gonna go all in on this project? Are you gonna spend the time in the garage to mess with these weights and stuff? You got to believe. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe you can do it. And you know what? If you believe and you go for it, I'm not saying it's always going to work out, but it just and I can't speak for anyone in the audience. I can only speak for myself. I've gone for things, big things, and it didn't work out. But I look back and go, you know what? I went for it, and I can feel good about that. I don't think I could look back and not have tried. Then you would always wonder, what if I had done it? So just believe you can do it. Believe in yourself. Believe in whatever God has put in your heart, whatever your mission is, and go for it. You got to believe, man. If you don't believe, no one else will believe. And so, yeah, I believe I'm going to do the right thing. I believe I'm going to take Jukester to the next level, and it's going to be this huge product that everybody has, and I believe it's going to help people.
I believe it's going to be in the dance studios. I don't know who asked that question, but
it's a great idea. You know what? That's what I'm talking about, though. I told you, people email me with different things. Oh, I'm using it for these ab exercises. I'm using it for Parkinson's. That was about 6 months ago. Now someone says, hey, what about the dance studio? Well, guess what I'm doing this summer? I'll be stopping by the dance studio. What if I gave you this product? Would this help you at all? And they're going to be like, oh, you know what? That helps with stretching. Or I don't know what they'll say, but I'm interested. Maybe they'll tell me to take a walk, but maybe not. Let's find out. I believe I'm going.
I believe that Brad will be dancing. So, Brad, any final words you'd like to give in the message of Jukester? Where can people find it and how can they get it?
Okay, well, you can go to the website, and it's JUKESTIR.com. Juke means to move out of the way, and stir means to move in a circle, or it can mean to combine two things. In this case, you're combining your body and brain. And take a look, and over the course of the next few days, I'll be posting some more videos on my Instagram, which is Jukester Fit. And I was talking about this FitCon, and I'll be posting people and their reactions to the bag and stuff like that. If anybody has any questions, just reach out to me on Instagram. I'll be happy to answer them.
Awesome. And I want to thank you for joining me today on Tea Time and sharing a good, strong tea, because this is what Miss Liz does. I bring different kind of teas and different flavors. And it was really inspiring to know. And I'm waiting for the dance studios to take it on, because I think it would be really cool, because I've seen some moves of some dancers, and my grandson, my step grandson, he's a dancer, and he moves like all over. So I think that would really be cool. Maybe Grandma will buy him one for Christmas. Who knows, right? So
I'm going to find out. I'm interested.
right, I am too. Like I'm like really into it too. Like I want to try it. Maybe I need it just to release myself, like, you know. So I want to thank you, Brad. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're watching the replay, please push hashtag replay and let me know where you're tuning in. I always like to hear where you're tuning in. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Miss Liz, or you can reach out directly to Brad about the Jukester. And we're gonna just keep it, we're going to do some prayers. It's going to go in the dance studio, I'm telling you. And we'll see everybody next week with 3 new stories, 3 new TEAs. And we serve a strong tea in this house. So, again, I want to thank everybody and have a beautiful weekend. Make time for family, put your phones down, and maybe do a little juking. You know, we need some dancing going on and maybe some fly fishing. Who knows? But I'll see you guys all next Thursday, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. with 3 new guests and 3 new stories.